What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Steven Ostentoski here of MaizenBrew, bringing you another episode of Freshman Feature. We're up to episode 7 here. Season's hopefully approaching soon, so we gotta wrap these up. I'll get these out quickly, but today we're covering 4-star weak side defensive end out of Tampa, Florida, Jaylen Harrell. You can find previous episode in the description below. You can find the icon up on the top of your screen for the entire playlist of Freshman Feature. Make sure you leave a comment on who you want to see in the next episode. Here's a list of the remaining guys down to a few in the 2020 class. Saw a few requests for Harrell over the past few episodes. Thanks to these folks for their suggestions. Let's get into episode 7 here. Jaylen Harrell. For high school, he attended Berkeley Prep. He was a 4-year varsity starter and a team captain his senior year. They reached the second round of the Class 3A playoffs as a senior. He played all over the place, started as a linebacker, but he played defensive end, linebacker, running back, fullback, tight end throughout his high school career, so he's a well-traveled high school player across many positions. I'll throw his stats up on the screen next. You can see this is one of the few guys that actually have stats for all 4 years. His junior year was the highlight with over 100 tackles, 20 tackles for loss, and 5 sacks. Senior year, his stats went down a little bit, but just under 60 tackles, 11 tackles for loss, and 3 sacks. No metrics I could find. Let's skip right to his rankings. Rivals and 247 both have him as a 3-star. Rivals still lists him as a outside linebacker. All other services have him as a weak side defensive end. Rivals is the lowest on him, 70th overall in Florida. ESPN is the most bullish on him. They have him as a 4-star within their top 200, cracking in at 171 nationally. Top 10 as weak side defensive end at number 6 and 27 in the state of Florida. 247 kind of splits the two, where he's 23rd weak side defensive end and around 61st in the state of Florida. That brings his composite just within the top 300 nationally, 14th weak side defensive end, and inside the top 50 for the state of Florida. Depending on who you ask, he's either 6'3 or 6'4. His weight range is right around 235 to all services. Looking at his recruitment, so like I said, he played all over the place. He started as an inside linebacker, grew into the weak side defensive end position. He was only 190 pounds as a freshman, so obviously he grew into weak side defensive end. Being out of Florida, he was interested in a couple programs down there, Miami, Florida State. Florida State was eyeing him as that buck type linebacker, essentially an Uche role. And this was a recruitment where the case was Michigan had really good timing. They had Josh Uche to pitch Jaylen Harrell as, hey, we can produce you as this guy. And both Florida State and Miami have not been in the best position as of late. Florida State fired Willie Taggart. That was one of the main recruiters for Jaylen Harrell. So with them in flux and Miami obviously not doing great recently, with Uche being at Michigan, succeeding, getting drafted very highly, those were a lot of things in Michigan's favor to pull him out of the state of Florida. Looking at his offer list, very legit offer list. Now, it is hard to say which of these offers are truly committable at the time, but I'll list through them real quick. Auburn, Alabama, Clemson, Oklahoma, Duke, Florida State, Georgia, South Carolina, Florida, Tennessee, Mississippi State, Miami, Penn State, and Ohio State. So at least a handful of those are committable, and those are all top tier Power 5 offers. So he's a guy who is very intriguing to a ton of programs, and I think that offer list is well above what you would expect for a guy of his rating. So looking at his scouting, he's a guy who covers well, closes really quickly, explosive off the line, off the charts upside with his length and athleticism. He's seen as a potential third down rush defensive end. He has the dip and rip ability off the edge, urge to dominate each play. He has a very high motor and he brings it on every play, and a very high work ethic. He's also a legacy. His dad played in the NFL and USFL for a decade, so I feel like Michigan's taken a lot of legacies, and Jaylen Harrell is one of those on that list. A couple things that he could improve upon in his scouting report: lateral quickness could improve. He lacks elite change of direction, and he could use to develop more extensive pass rush moves. So the first two, lateral quickness and change of direction, those will be a little bit harder to make up ground in, because that's more of a skill set athleticism downfall. Developing more extensive pass moves, you'd expect a defensive coach to be able to bring him up to speed there. So let's get into his film here. Enough of me talking. Let's look at Jaylen Harrell and what he has to bring here. All right, we'll start with a few clips here of the inside run and him covering on the inside. So He's coming from either the inside linebacker position down to defensive end. This is from his senior film, mostly some junior clips here, but he shows the ability to stack and shed. Not his strongest suit, but he does flash that ability. I'd like to see him a little bit stronger there, but I like him knifing through the line of scrimmage from linebacker at this point more than as defensive end stacking and shedding. Good hitting power, could hit a little lower, but good hip explosion overall, and above average get off at the line of scrimmage that I see. Looking at him defending the outside runs here, like to see him operating in space as much as possible. This is really where I think he shines. He shows when encountering blockers, I would like to see him use that length a little bit more. He's not extending the arms as much as a guy with his length possibly should, but he still looks to have a good frame. Despite hand usage having a long way to go, he still covers ground extremely well, takes solid angles, and is explosive at the point of contact. His pass rush here, he shows that get off here. It's pretty explosive off the line of scrimmage. I like to see that right off the snap. He doesn't have what I would call elite bend around the edge. He has plenty to get it done, but if you're comparing him to Uche had that elite around the edge. You saw there he did make a nice move. But his closing speed here is really good on rushing the quarterback, especially from that second level where I really like him kind of as that hybrid linebacker defensive end role. So if he can keep that, that'd be great. But everything I'm seeing here shows high-level athleticism. Again, I mentioned the hand usage and technique. That'll come, and I like that he has the frame to work with. It's just a matter of getting him to use the tools that he has at his disposal, get him coached up, and he'll for sure be a force there. He does flash an outside to inside move that's intriguing. He could learn a couple more moves. I don't see extensive moves on the pass rush, but overall a very intriguing prospect in pass rush specifically. Then here's a few clips of him defending the pass. So he's very able to cover the screen extremely well. He follows his eyes really well, and he surprisingly has good hands. So that first clip you saw him pluck out of the air, he does that a couple times, this one right here as well. So again, shows that he has that kind of linebacker athleticism, a guy you wouldn't expect to have hands like he does. But good instincts, like I said, keeps his eyes disciplined in the backfield on the quarterback and takes good paths to the receiver. That was consistent with his run defense. It's consistent here with his pass defense. Then I mentioned he moonlighted at running back as well. It doesn't appear to have a ton of lateral agility at the position here, and I only found a couple clips, but at 6'4", 240, you can be a power running back, and that's exactly what these clips are showing. Impressive that he has the athleticism to even moonlight at the position, so that's something I really like to see. So it's kind of tough to nail down a comparison here for Jaylen Harrell. I've seen Mario Ojemudia mentioned, who is kind of a defensive end, outside linebacker role. Lawrence Marshall, that's from Harry Hillman, of my old friend at MGO Fish. That's his comparison. Uche has been thrown around just because he fits the position. That's surely what Michigan has been recruiting him as. So Uche, I could see if he stays the defensive end, outside linebacker mold. I see more of Kwity Paye, which is interesting because Kwity Paye was obviously he's going into his final year here at Michigan in 2020 as a weak side defensive end. He was out of the Northeast down Brown territory. The reason I say this is he was around 400, 500 overall weak side defensive end. And I'll put his high school on to compare at this point where Jaylen Harrell is as well. The things that stand out to me is Paye's overall athleticism, explosion through contact, solid get off, not necessarily his best aspect, but very good. Both were all over the field. Both were running backs despite being defensive end size. Kwity Paye out of high school is around 6'4". He was a little bit more bulky than what we see out of Jaylen Harrell. You know, a little thicker, a little more put together at the position, but so there's a little more of a frame to fill out for Harrell, but if you took like an Uche and Paye mashup, that's Harrell, because Harrell has more of the frame of an Uche, is a little bit less undersized, where Paye is more stocky, doesn't have quite as long of arms or the frame. But I see a lot of the explosiveness, not quite the top tier athleticism as Uche, but kind of that weapon all over the field that Paye was deployed as. So it's an intriguing prospect. I see it as a combo of Uche Paye, and it's more of a matter of where than if. So looking at his projection, similar to the last episode 6, where I covered Chris Jenkins, depends on where he grows, right? If he stays in this kind of Uche role, he could be deployed there. I think he has plenty of athleticism to make it work. He was considered an elite prospect early on. He has a skill set to be one. I think it's just a matter of, again, the services trying to figure out where he'll end up and not really knowing where to rank him. Our rival still has him as an outside linebacker, so it's hard to say exactly where he'll end up. Again, I don't think he has quite the ceiling of Josh Uche, who's kind of an athletic freak, to be honest, but I still think Harrell has a mid to late draft pick potential, and it should be easy to get a red shirt out of him this year. Maybe not next year, but you're looking at 2022 as the year for him to really start to get some snaps there. But I think, again, this is a really solid prospect. He brings a ton of athleticism to a position that Michigan will be able to utilize. I really want him to be stunting a ton coming off the edge on third downs. He can hack it in coverage in a pinch, so the versatility he offers is really exciting, and I'm just excited to see where he actually ends up. Thanks, everyone, for watching this episode. Again, comment below on who you want to see for the final episodes coming up. Make sure you like and subscribe if you haven't already to the channel. Beyond that, guys, thanks again for watching. Stay safe out there, and as always, go Blue.